WWE radio is bad, and I'm going to explain why, because this news that just dropped should have everybody worried.
The WWE has sold out, and I told you there won't be a WWE in 10 years.
What do you think the reason for that is? What do you think the reason is? I've been trying to tell you guys, I've tried to warn you for over a year and a half that this is what this company is.
Grace. So we haven't seen her on WWE TV. She got hurt, I believe, the week of WrestleMania, where she twisted her ankle, and allegedly she's at home and there are no creative plans for her.
He said that there's a lot more money that we can save doing WWE shows, you know, and one of those things is, why the fuck are we touring this show?
So it seems like a lot of wrestling fans are finally speaking the truth about the state of the current WWE product. Fans are tired of the high ticket prices, redundant weekly shows, and lack of care put into the product. The WWE everyone used to love has changed, and not for the best. Now more and more people are slowly choosing AEW, and honestly, I think we all know why. Before we get started, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another upload.
WWE being bona fide ass is a choice at this point. I'm a firm believer that the Federation chooses to be terrible and makes controversial decisions to keep themselves at the forefront of the conversation. You tell me, what's the bigger story? WWE putting on a phenomenal show, or WWE producing questionable content for the sake of online debate? Every wrestling company has their niche and what they do best. AEW is where the best wrestle. Stardom is where women's wrestling goes crazy. GCW is known for its edgy hardcore wrestling. WWE is where controversy keeps them relevant. Because whether you like it or not, negativity breeds attention. For example, including Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll in the WrestleMania main event storyline, prioritizing old heads and nostalgia over the young talented wrestlers that you have in the back, and most recently using Ryan Garcia in one of the worst segments in WWE history given his shaky past. I'm telling you, all of this is done with a purpose. The Federation is structured this way because regardless of what they do, they'll still have a loyal fan base defending their bull, defending their consistent unethical decision making. Because at the end of the day, for many fans, World Wrestling Entertainment has to win at all costs, even if it means destroying their morals in the process. And that's why WWE in 2026 refuses to change.
Grace. So we haven't seen her on WWE TV. She got hurt, I believe, the week of WrestleMania, where she twisted her ankle, and allegedly she's at home and there are no creative plans for her. Creative doesn't have anything for her. I was worried about Jordan, and I've been saying this since she was in NXT. I said I always felt since she signed with NXT, WWE, there was just something missing with Jordan Grace. And we talked and we were like, hey, was it a big fish, small pond situation? I don't want to think that when she was in Impact TNA, because I was really high on Jordan Grace. But whenever I saw her on NXT, I'm like, man, I just feel like there's just like one little thing missing. When she got to the main roster, I was just rooting for her. And I'm like, 'cause we haven't seen a lot of her. I was like, hopefully she gets over. What's your thoughts about that? And boy, how disappointing.
For sure disappointing. I think they didn't know how to storytell for her, book for her as a big, powerful woman in WWE. I put Jordan Grace as like a spectacle. She's massive in all the great ways. She needed to be a beast. She needed to be strong. So I feel like that they just didn't book her right to get over in the way that I would want her there.
WWE radio is bad, and I'm going to explain why, because this news that just dropped should have everybody worried. I've been covering wrestling for 17 years now, and I have never accepted a paycheck from WWE or AEW or any other wrestling company, but you guys will still leave comments that I am biased. Well, that's actually really relevant here, because Busted Open Radio will no longer be working with Thunder Rosa. Dave LaGreca came out and said everything is going to stay the same, nothing will change, but now Thunder Rosa and AEW talent will not be on Busted Open Radio, and that's because Busted Open Radio is going to be on WWE Radio. Can't you see the problem? Listen, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, none of that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. What I say on my platforms is what I believe. It's not designed to be popular, and you're not always going to agree with it. But I come up with that opinion myself. And WWE doing WWE Radio means they're going to be controlling a lot of what's being said on Busted Open Radio and every other radio show. And I just think that is terrible. And by the way, do you think WWE would really want to pay me if I'm complaining about their shows on a weekly basis? I mean, yeah, I might praise them, but I'm also going to criticize, so let's just use common sense.
WWE hates the fans, and they're not even hiding it anymore. So okay, you guys remember when recently Triple H sat down with Stephen A. Smith and he talked about how wrestling is supposed to be fun. He said that the product shouldn't be taken too seriously and people shouldn't overanalyze and should just have fun. I want to break down a scenario for you guys, and I want you guys to tell me if it's fun. So recently we did see Obafemi defeat Jey Uso in the King of the Ring tournament, crowning Oba the king. Now, prior to, some of the discussion online is that Jey Uso should have actually won the tournament, considering that WWE wanted to do Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi 3. Now, people, myself included, had said that it would only make sense for Obafemi to lose by having Brock Lesnar run in and Jey Uso ultimately getting the pin. Now, while on the surface, that definitely isn't the route to go because you don't want to see Oba lose, at least it's justified. But instead, Oba wins the King of the Ring tournament. And last night on Monday Night Raw, we actually seen Obafemi kinda throw away the King of the Ring tournament idea. Brock Lesnar interrupted him, he beat him up, and then Oba was backstage and said that I actually want to forego the title opportunity, it'll be there when it's there. So okay, Oba won the King of the Ring tournament and they're still going to have him face Brock. It sucks, but realistically it does make sense. Now the other prediction, especially after Sami Zayn won the WWE Championship, was that Jey Uso should go face Sami. That logically would have been the only thing that truly made sense for Jey Uso to do and would have made people happy at the very least with him winning. So last night on Monday Night Raw, Jey Uso was in a backstage segment with Jimmy and Jacob, and he talked about how he needs to go over to Smackdown because Sami's the champion and he needs to bring gold back to the bloodline. So realistically, WWE just pulled the gotcha moment. At King of the Ring, they had Oba win just to say, ha ha ha, you were wrong, but we're still gonna do the exact same thing that we were always going to do anyways. Oba winning the King of the Ring tournament means nothing now. So you tell me, is that fun?
What do you think the reason for that is? What do you think the reason is? I've been trying to tell you guys, I've tried to warn you for over a year and a half that this is what this company is. It is a cheap pop, you know what I'm saying? What's it called? Shock Factor. It's a Shock Factor company, bro. World Wrestling Entertainment is a joke. It's a joke. Wrestling as a whole is a joke. You have no stars, you have no storylines. That's it. So John Cena taps out to Gunther, and as he taps out to Gunther, he has a smile on his face. What are you smiling at? What could you possibly be smiling at? That's so funny. John Cena's sitting there in here before he taps, he's like, what are you grinning at? What's so funny? Let me guess, you gave everything you had? No, you didn't. Because you just pushed Cody Rhodes to the limit at SummerSlam like a few months ago. So if you can't push Gunther to the limit, who's beneath Cody Rhodes, who got pinned by Cody Rhodes, who got beat by Jey Uso, who got beat by Sami Zayn, who got beat by CM Punk, who John Cena beat this year. If you are not beating Gunther, you did not give everything you had in your final match.
WWE officially does not care about their fans. You can't convince me otherwise. Recently, some statements were made by the TKO president, Mark Shapiro, stating that there will be more increasing in ticket prices, which is absolutely berserk, because if you go look at ticket prices for WrestlePalooza, even for a Friday Night Smackdown, the nosebleeds are hundreds of dollars. This is exactly what TKO president Mark Shapiro had to say. You can pause and read. And to make it even crazier, they know that they're outpricing fans. He also stated that Vince McMahon was primarily pricing tickets for families and wasn't focused on maximizing the opportunity to increase said ticket prices like TKO is focused on doing. It is so mind-boggling to me how out of touch TKO and WWE have become. They seriously do not care about the fans. You can't tell me for 1 second they do, because he literally acknowledges that Vince McMahon, when he was still in charge, was purposefully making ticket prices affordable for families and for every type of fan to be able to go to shows. And now, as I just mentioned before, we know that ticket prices are through the roof. It's coming to a point where it's like, I don't even know the next time I'm even going to be able to go to a WWE show because of how expensive it is. It's not even affordable for the average American. It's affordable for celebrities and athletes who've got thousands and thousands of dollars to spend, but for fans, actual diehards, you're pricing us out and making us not want to watch. And while we're on the topic of watching from home because you can't afford to go to a live event, it's even still an arm and a leg to watch at home. You have to have 18 different streaming services that all total up to hundreds of dollars, and it's like absolutely berserk. Now, I know there are fans who can afford it, or there's fans who are going to make sacrifices to be able to afford streaming services or going to live events. But at the end of the day, there are going to be thousands upon thousands of fans who are just not going to watch your product anymore because You're taking away the magic of professional wrestling. All you want is money. And that's a huge turnoff for fans. I'm incredibly infuriated by this news because it not only disappoints me as a fan, but I know it disappoints thousands of people as fans too, knowing I don't know the next time I'm going to be able to go to a WWE show. I don't know the next time I can even watch it on TV because these streaming networks are so expensive and you have to have so many of them. It is absolutely unreal, no pun intended. And I know later today at 3 p.m. Eastern, they're going to be making a supposed big announcement. I have a feeling it's going to be the Saudi Arabia WrestleMania 43 announcement just because it got leaked. So I guess we'll be talking about that later today, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. Let me know in the comments all of your thoughts and how you're genuinely feeling about all this, because I can't imagine that people are happy about this. Don't forget to celebrate the joy in what you love, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Santana leaving TNA just so he can debut on NXT is really disappointing, and even though I'm saying that, I am happy for him. I want every wrestler to make as much money as they possibly can in the wrestling industry, and I want them to wrestle for the wrestling promotions that they want to wrestle at. But is it not a really bad sign that the TNA World Champion would rather leave the company and go to a developmental brand of the WWE's than stay and be the face of TNA? I'm gonna be real, Mike Santana leaving just to go to NXT was the final thing I needed to see for all the cuck memes to actually be true to me. Think about all the talent that's left TNA since their partnership with the WWE started. Their roster could be stacked right now. But instead, you have Joe Hendry wasting away on the WWE's roster, barely gets any minutes. They're still treating Jordynne Grace like an afterthought, even though I swear to God, whenever I saw her for the very first time in the WWE's Royal Rumble, she was immediately extremely over to me. The fact that the WWE is fumbling her the way that they are feels very intentional. It's like they're taking TNA's wrestlers just to do nothing with them. Josh Alexander left and went to AEW. Jake Doyle also left and went to AEW. Speedball Mike Bailey also left TNA to go to AEW, and I know what a lot of y'all are thinking. Why would a wrestler going to AEW from TNA have anything to do with their partnership with the WWE? But I do think that these wrestlers are seeing the writing on the wall and what's coming to TNA from their partnership with the WWE. That's why they're jumping ship. Also, let's just be real for a second. It is obvious that TNA does not have enough money to pay their wrestlers anything substantial. Otherwise, people would be coming and staying. It's public knowledge that most NXT contracts range anywhere between $60,000 and like $150,000. If that's the case, how much money do you think Mike Santana was making for him to leave TNA to go and accept that? The Rascals all decided to leave TNA together at the exact same time. I ain't never seen a faction leave a company at once. Answer this for me. Do you think that Leon Slater is staying in TNA instead of making the jump to the WWE or AEW? I want TNA to be successful. I also want them to have superstars on their roster. I just don't think it would be in Leon Slater's best interest to stay there. That's another big problem that TNA has right now. Who are the stars in their company? As of right now, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong, the most popular wrestlers in TNA are Nick Nemeth, 64-year-old Frankie Kazarian, AJ Francis, who I think is way overhated, but do you want him to be a part of your core four in terms of your men's single division? I don't think so. Outside of that, who else is there? Moose? This is the exact reason why whenever Matt Hardy and Bubba Ray Dudley were patting each other on the back talking about how good their match at Bound for Glory was, I wasn't buying it. Because if the Dudley boys and the Hardy boys in 2025 or 2026 is the only way that your company can get a big draw for a pay-per-view, that's a bad thing. This is the last thing that I'm going to say. I just want to remind everybody that this time last year, Eric Bischoff came out and said that this time this year, TNA would be the second largest wrestling promotion in North America. He said that they were going to pass AEW up in all the metrics, viewership, pay-per-view buys, etc., etc. Now they're pulling like maybe a third of what AEW is pulling. Also, their top talent is leaving to go to NXT, so the new hierarchy in the WWE universe is Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and then TNA maybe? Is it in TNA's best interest to be the development brand for the development brand? I don't think it is. And again, all of this is coming from somebody that wants to see TNA be successful. I just don't think they're gonna get there by being the backup to NXT.
We just basically got to confirm that WWE are the ones making the calls for TNA. So earlier this week, 3 big TNA versus AEW matches got pulled, those being MJF versus Nick Nemeth, Leon Slater versus Ricochet, and MJF versus Bear Bronson. And the initial reports were that TNA had a change of heart about letting their talent in the ring with contracted wrestlers to other companies, including AEW. Well, that would be a whole load of bullcrap, because we just got it announced this week that Rich Swann, who is signed to TNA, is going to be having a match against the Demands, Ricochet, and Gates of Agony, who are all signed to AEW, while also working with Sidney Hakim, formerly known as Scripps, who is signed to ROH. Mind you, a show that Moose was just pulled from due to the fact that he could be working with other AEW wrestlers. And this is exactly why I said that this got WWE's hands written all over it, because Jody Threat is a TNA wrestler and just faced Mercedes Moné on the 31st. And while sure, Jody Threat did win, and a lot of y'all try to say that, well, maybe it's because of the fact that she won the match, I do not see a world that Sidney Hakim and Rich Swann, even with Michael Oku present, are going to be beating the Demand. No way. And heck, this doesn't even have to do with the fact that Carlos Silva was reportedly upset with AEW for running Collision the exact same time as TNA, and then MJF going off and him calling him a dumbass, saying that, dude, March Madness was the one that got in our way. We ain't have no other day to be able to air on. Because both MJF and Will Ospreay just went off on Carlos Silva. MJF ran that man a new one, saying that if anybody supports TNA, that they're a loser, and that Will Ospreay said, how you gonna be the #2 company, but you acting like this? Because right after both of those sound offs happened, this match was announced. Like literally an hour or two after all that happened. So these matches couldn't have gotten pulled because of MJF's comments towards Carlos Silva, because MJF's second comments were a lot worse. So this right here, this report right here, is the only possibility now. And those partners' interest are these guys right here. WWE. Now, you know what's crazy about Carlos Silva just bending it on over so much for WWE? We have not seen one WWE wrestler have a match in TNA. I said WWE wrestler, not NXT. But when AEW and TNA had a partnership, you've seen mad AEW wrestlers having matches in TNA. They're biggest of wrestlers. But as speculated upon by AJ Styles around mid to late last year, he said, but then I realized it probably could never go as far as WWE letting me do that. And I'll tell you why. It's because as soon as I open those gates for the main roster talent, now everybody's going to want to do it. But I'm sorry, isn't that the whole point of a partnership? Isn't it that you allow your talents to be able to wrestle in other companies and vice versa? Because TNA allowed the likes of Nick Nemeth, Leon Slater, Matt Cardona, Moose, Jordan Grace, Joe Hendry, etc. to all go over to WWE. But WWE's not allowed any of their main roster talent to be able to go to TNA. Mind you, weren't the initial reports of the partnership were that it was a TNA WWE partnership, but now it's all being labeled as a TNA NXT partnership? Yeah, no, these matches were pulled due to the fact that WWE has eyes on Leon Slater and Nick Nemeth and Moose. A bunch of reports have already come out that WWE would love to have Moose be a part of the NXT roster to be able to help out a lot of the young talents. They would love to have Leon Slater as another young wrestler on their roster, and Nick Nemeth is a guy they would love to have back. Not really sure about Bear Bronson too much, but I could see WWE, if he does get hot enough, wanting him as well, which is just sick. Not sick that WWE wants talent, because yeah, that makes sense to want all the talent in the world. But it is sick that all these other reports came out that Carlos Silva wanted to protect his talent and wanted to make sure that his talent was going over and not being looked at in a bad light or losing on rival programming and all that stuff. When in reality, the one truth was that it was always WWE that was blocking these matches from happening and not just TNA on its own. And I'm gonna be real, now I 100% rock with MJF saying that TNA should not be supported upon because this bald fraud don't want to pay his wrestlers properly. He want to have damn near the whole entire roster on paid per appearance contracts, but then try to tell them where they can and can't work, who they can and can't work with. Let me tell y'all right now, this little WWE partnership that Carlos Silva got going on with WWE, yeah, it might have got them a network deal, but that's about it. That's about it. They ain't gonna get anything else. No more top talents are gonna be going from NXT on over to TNA because who's gonna be the top talents? NXT ain't got no big names once a few of these other folks start leaving and all that stuff. And with all the reports that WWE is going to start pulling a lot more NXT wrestlers even earlier than they may be ready is due to the fact that they probably don't want a lot of those big names going on over to TNA. They don't want Kendall Gray over there, Callie Armstrong over there. That's why they pulled Javon Evans so early, so he couldn't be over there much anymore. So honestly, why should we support TNA? And that hurts to say because TNA was my first wrestling company that I watched. I watched it for 3-4 years before ever even watching WWE. But why should we support a company that don't want to pay its wrestlers properly, wants to pay them on all appearances, and then try to tell them where they can and can't work? And if these wrestlers get hurt on they watch or they get hurt on NXT's watch, don't nobody want to help them out. Don't nobody at TNA want to help them out at all. Steph DeLander had to go to NXT to be able to get some kind of help. She couldn't even get help from TNA when she got hurt. Why should we support a company that's ran by a man that wants to just tap dance for WWE 24/7? Even if it is hurting all of its wrestlers on its roster. It's sick. But y'all go ahead and let me know y'all opinions on everything discussed in this video down below. And if you haven't already, make sure you like it and follow for more. Just make sure not to follow TNA.
He said that there's a lot more money that we can save doing WWE shows. You know, and one of those things is, why the fuck are we touring this show? Why do we take Raw and SmackDown across the country? Why do we take this around the world? It's so expensive. And we could do this from one location And we would save so much more money. They will get to a point when they're trying to increase the top line and try and increase their profits by minimizing the bottom line, that they'll be like, let's just stop taking this show on the road. It's not financially viable for us anymore. Because we're not the customer for WWE. We're not the target audience. Shareholders, the sponsors, they're the target audience. When we were on your stag do, a few of your friends talked to me and Laurie about wrestling and being like, what's it like to watch wrestling? Because I used to watch wrestling back in the day. What's it like to watch now? And Laurie just said it, but like, I didn't even tee him up for it. Laurie said, it's not a fun show to watch. It's not fun to be a wrestling fan because we're not the target audience anymore. And me and Laurie aren't like, we're not having these conversations in the office. That is just that's a conclusion that Laurie has come to on his own. I'm not the customer for it anymore. The shareholders are the customer now. And it's not as much fun to
Yo, Triple H, say you swear this ain't AI. Say you swear this ain't artificial intelligence right now. Why is the best wrestler in the world? She's the GOAT. Rio Sky's the best. Why is she... The women's division has now regressed into the Divas era. Yep. That's where we at. No women's matches on the card tonight. None. Nada. And the only thing that featured women on Raw tonight was the world title feud that centered around Danhausen, by the way. No, I'm serious. The story of this world championship feud between Io Sky and Liv, remember, this is Io Sky and Liv's world title feud. The story of it is Danhausen cursing Liv Morgan. Yup. Liv Morgan is having the worst women's title run of all time. And I say that full seriousness where I say that. Simply because she hasn't defended the championship once since WrestleMania. And the only person that she's actually had a consistent feud with is Danhausen. Let's go. Let's go. Change the channel over there to Smackdown and they over there making interim champions because they don't want to take the belt off Rhea. Women's wrestling is back. Triple H, come here, bro. Come, you already know what I'm doing. Yep. Come here so I can touch.
That's right, you're going to get 2 WWE TKO posts from me in one day, which is a lot because I don't like to talk about wrestling a ton. I'm a former WWE employee. I worked there from 2010 to 2020, and with all the reports of talent being released, like the New Day and Aleister Black and Zelina Vega, and the Legends contracts apparently going away, and the alleged contract dispute between Roman Reigns and TKO, this report came out about how much money in bonuses and salary the top leaders at TKO are receiving, and it's gross. You have Ari Emanuel, who is up 272% from 18 million to 67 million. Mark Shapiro is up 33% from 32 million to 43 million. And Nick Khan is up 304% from 6 million to 24 million. That's gross. With all the talks about how high ticket prices are and how much debt they're in and how much money TKO needs to cut to save money, this is what they're doing. Say what you will about Vince McMahon personally, but Vince McMahon, his success, his financial success hinged directly on how well the product was doing. It did. That was Vince, and it was a publicly traded company, but it was a dictatorship. And under Vince, because Vince understands professional wrestling and Vince knew professional wrestling, his success hinged on WWE's success. That's not the case here with TKO when it comes to WWE, and also with UFC for that matter. This is absolutely gross. And the fact that these guys are making this much money while cutting great talent that are going to get scooped up by AEW and TNA, and it's going to create a vacuum where WWE starts to suffer overall because of the lack of talent and the lack of recognizable talent, kind of like the problem UFC has where they have no star power. But the other thing I want to talk about too is, because I'm one of these people, and a lot of my closest friends are some of these people, the people that have been laid off since 2020, the corporate employees at WWE that have been laid off or consolidated. WWE was a very well-run machine from 2010 to 2020. I was part of the digital and social team. We were a very efficient machine. We adapted. We overcame. I was laid off in 2020. Allegedly, it was because of COVID, but WWE was highly profitable that year. No, I was in the first round of Nick Khan layoffs. A lot of my friends have been laid off in the subsequent rounds in them trying to, cut costs and get the company sold and all that. And to see this, the C-suite bonuses like this is just disgusting. And this isn't pro wrestling. And this just furthers my theory that those who run TKO just do not understand professional wrestling, and they never will. And WWE is going to suffer because of it.